as I've been saying a number of times throughout the stream today, I think the big kind of bellwether for the next generation is going to be Xbox's participation and whether they can get their act together. Because I think we've seen with the PlayStation price hikes, with their hyperfixation on live service stuff, is often an artifact of their comfort, of the fact that they are at the top of the heap. They are king of the hill, and they don't feel threatened by anybody. They don't think anybody can touch them. So they can afford to waste time and money and resources on a multi-billion-dollar Bungie acquisition, on spending $400 million on Concord, because God knows Xbox isn't going to give them much of a run for their money. And so a lot of this now, it was landing on the shoulders of Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer. And I think a lot of us had the feeling that maybe things were not going to change in a quantifiable way. Whether you loved Phil Spencer or hated him, whether you loved Sarah Bond or hated her, I think it was pretty clear that what they were doing was not working. I think we can all agree on that, right? You love them or hate them, it wasn't working. This is an Xbox campaign, which was freaking everywhere, was one of the big initiatives. And this has been kind of complicated with some of the discourse, in recent weeks after the departure of Sarah and the retirement of Phil, because this was largely, it seems, blamed on Sarah, but people found quotes from Phil Spencer talking about it back in 2018, 2019. To be clear, Phil was the CEO, Sarah Bond was president. That means Phil is still above Sarah Bond. He brought her in. So ultimately, an Xbox campaign was a Phil Spencer initiative. She seemed to be the head of it. And she was the head of it because Phil put her in charge of it, because she liked the idea and wanted to keep pushing it. So whether it first originated with Phil, which I think it did, or with Sarah, I think doesn't really matter. The point is that this was her initiative. This was her baby. And when you are in a corporation and you sign your name to something, if that something fails, you go down with the ship. That's just generally how it works. So in the case of Xbox, they did this big push for this is an Xbox. Everything's an Xbox. So your laptop, your handheld device that you can see right there, or your console or your TV, it's all an Xbox. And a lot of us, quoted the work of art. It's a film. It won a bunch of awards. I think it was at Cannes. Oh, The Incredibles. When Syndrome says, when everyone's super, no one will be. Turns out, when everything's an Xbox, nothing will be. It totally killed all brand momentum, all brand identity, rather. It just killed it. When everything is an Xbox, okay, so I don't need to engage with Xbox anymore. Easy. Done. Wasn't going to anyways, it just doesn't go anywhere. And I think that was the big miscalculation, is they thought when everything's an Xbox, that just means our ecosystem becomes the thing. They got so fixated on this idea of turning Xbox into Netflix that they lost sight of everything else. Because it starts to make sense when you think about it like Xbox. Everything is a Netflix. You can use Netflix on your laptop, on your handheld gaming device. You can use Netflix on the plane, on your phone, on your tablet, on your TV. No matter where you are, you can enjoy your Netflix content. That makes sense because it's Netflix. Gaming is just different though. It's just different, okay? Gamers have been conditioned for decades to have a platform. They like having a platform. That's just what it is. Is it stupid or brilliant? I don't know, but that's how it is, okay? And when you kill the brand identity, people just end up flocking to the other ecosystem, and that's what happened. Sony started dominating the PS5 generation with 2-to-1 sales of the PS5. So for every 2 consoles that would sell, or for every 3 consoles that would sell, 2 of them would be PlayStations and 1 would be an Xbox. By the end of Phil Spencer's tenure, that had plummeted, and it was even lower. So it was something stupid 10-to-1 was going PlayStation to Xbox. I don't know the exact stat. Don't quote me on that, but it was significant. I mean, it had plummeted. Nobody was buying Xbox hardware anymore because why would you? Everything's an Xbox. Now, look, baby, it's not about hardware anymore. It's about the platform. I agree, but we also saw, as they made this massive push, Game Pass subscribers did not skyrocket. They just didn't. Their goal was to get something stupid like 100 million users signed up for Game Pass in the first 5 years, especially after the Activision Blizzard deal. And that did not happen. It just didn't, which is a problem. Let me see if I can find this article. And then other stories started coming out, like this one reported by Windows Central. Microsoft gave up $300 million in Call of Duty sales as a result of Game Pass. Specifically, by bringing Black Ops 6 to Game Pass, the estimated losses were approximately $300 million that they would have made if they had sold it traditionally. By bringing it to Game Pass, they lost out on $300 million they would have otherwise made, which is, let me pull up our technical analysis document, okay? Here it is. That's bad, okay? That makes us sad, losing $300 million. That's not good. And so, it's clear things were not working. Things were clearly dysfunctional. And so Satya Nadella stepped in and was like, we need to change this. So Phil Spencer retires. Whether he was encouraged to retire or if it really was his idea, who can say? I have the sneaking suspicion that this might have been one of those situations where he started to see that, like, I think my days may be numbered. I think Satya, I've seen a lot of people going to his office, and when I walk by, he closes the blinds. They might be prepping to hire my replacement. So I'm going to go tell him I'm retiring. Let's do that. And so it might have been something like that. That's kind of my suspicion, is that Phil could see the writing on the wall that everybody else was seeing, that like clearly things were not working out. He's like, I'm going to get out of here before the house burns down. So he left. Sarah Bond gets passed over as the replacement, and Asha Sharma gets put in place. Well, since she took over, there's of course been a lot of skepticism around all of this because she is the former head of Core AI. She's an AI executive, and it's important to give her a chance, but to also not delude yourself, okay? Like, her literal job before this was to create AI agents that replace human workers. That's like literally what her job was, okay? So for you to think that she's been hired and that is not something that Satya was like, I wonder if we could do that too. That I think is naive, okay? I think it's pretty clear her talents are in one area, and it's very unlikely that she was hired to not use her talents, you know? But her other talent historically, like going back before Xbox or before Microsoft, was in customer acquisition. So if you don't know, her previous job was at Instacart. She was like one of the VPs of customer acquisition or whatever. And getting clients in an app just in general is very, very expensive and very, very difficult. But she did it. Instacart blew up. She was super successful. That's why she got hired at Microsoft. So she is very, very good apparently at getting people to come to a platform when they have a lot of choices. That's what she's good at, in addition to replacing people with robots. But she's good at that. And I think that's why she was primarily hired in addition to her other talent set. But what we have since found out in the last couple of days, and this is specifically an article that went up this morning, is specific details over what happened when they shut down some of the big decisions that happened last go around with the previous leadership. So as I said, the This Is an Xbox campaign was probably initially come up with by Phil and his team. They hired Sarah Bond. Sarah Bond gets promoted to president. She's being groomed to become the next CEO, and this becomes her baby. She's going to run the This Is an Xbox campaign. Reporting started coming out after she resigned, basically, and left the company, that people thought she was very difficult to work with, and that this was her baby, and that this was seemingly part of the reason that she departed, because Asha is apparently the one who was directly responsible for shutting down the This Is an Xbox thing. Microsoft's controversial Xbox marketing campaign, This Is an Xbox, was almost immediately ended after new CEO Asha Sharma came on board. They explain why. Okay. This is sort of like broader context and run up. Okay. In attempts to explain its mission, Xbox commissioned a new marketing campaign dubbed This is an Xbox. This controversial marketing beat tried to promote Xbox as an everywhere kind of brand. Xbox has been leaning hard into the trend that people increasingly just play games wherever and aren't explicitly loyal to a specific platform. Kind of misses the point that potentially like they want a specific platform and they're just doing that because they don't have much they don't have a place to call home. But people like having a home, but if they don't have a place to call home, there's not much to do. Also, again, just to reiterate it, it seemed to me pretty clear that they were dedicated to this idea of being the Netflix of gaming, and I think they took that and ran with it. So this idea that you can watch Netflix anywhere on any device, it's all great, that was very much like double down on when it's just fundamentally different. He continues. I wrote previously about how the This is an Xbox marketing campaign didn't make a lot of sense. It seemed to promote the idea of not buying Xbox products. I haven't been able to find a similar marketing campaign in history that actively discouraged users from buying the promoting company's products. It also targeted users who, by Microsoft's own analysis, are not brand loyal and inevitably gloss over this type of marketing. It is weird to be like, you don't need to buy our stuff. No, you're good. You're good. I think what it was this attempt, in addition to the Netflix thing, they were like, people are already leaving our platform. So let's just own it and be like, yeah, you can leave our platform and still play our games and still engage with our content. I think that's what they were trying to do, but it's just a bizarre look to be like, yeah, so we're not trying to get you back. You just do whatever you want. The marketing campaign proved controversial both within Xbox customers and fans, as you can expect, but also internally, as many Xbox staffers I spoke to felt like their efforts were being undermined to promote competing products and platforms. This is something we had suspected, but hadn't been like clearly reported on, but it makes sense. I mean, obviously, if you work at Xbox, the idea of promoting like somebody's cell phone as an Xbox makes you on the Xbox team feel like, okay, well then what am I doing here? You know, like... Why am I here? Indeed, Microsoft partnered with the likes of Samsung and LG on the This is an Xbox ads, which actively discouraged users from buying Xbox hardware and insisting instead to subscribe to Xbox Cloud Gaming via their phones or TVs. Either way, it seems like the controversy had already reached incoming CEO Asha Sharma, whose first move after coming on board was to nix the entire campaign. So it was her first thing. Websites dedicated to the campaign were shuttered, leaving Xbox watchers wondering if it was a coincidence or a direct result of Asha Sharma's intervention. Microsoft just responded to our request for comment, explaining why it decided to move away here. Quote, Asha retired the This is an Xbox because it didn't feel like Xbox, said a Microsoft spokesperson. She is personally leading a reset of how we show up as a brand. So they're resetting the whole thing. They're resetting the whole thing. And I think it's interesting that it's framed as This is an Xbox didn't feel like Xbox. So, and this is something she said in the town hall meeting, apparently, that was reported on, which is that they want to try and find a way to like ignite the fire within the team itself at the HQ, but also to like give the brand an identity again. It seems like they identified the real problem, which was that Xbox was just this amorphous thing that didn't mean anything to anybody because everything's an Xbox, you know, and they identified that problem and now they're trying to actively reset it, which is why I'm expecting actually now that there's going to be some pretty big overhauls to the marketing approach and then also the communication approach. Microsoft hasn't always been great at marketing. The Surface RT launch was notoriously mocked for an ad showing dance choreography rather than the actual device. For example, it took the feedback on board though and followed up with some pretty legendary ads for the Surface Studio and Surface Book. Xbox has had some pretty strong eye-catching marketing beats in the past, but has arguably struggled here in recent years. The Xbox Series X and S sold well out of the gate to passionate fans, but didn't resonate with a wider, less connected, addressable audience. I'm no marketing expert, but the complete lack of visibility for these devices in the public consciousness has to have played a role here, even if general trends point to users being more interested in PC gaming as of late. Nintendo itself has reportedly cut production on the Switch 2 due to missing internal projections, and PlayStation just increased the price of the PS5 by $100 in the US due to global economic conditions. Consoles are undoubtedly having a tough time here across the board, but they continue. This is an Xbox. Marketing alone won't boost Xbox, but it's a start. New Xbox CEO Asha Sharma has touted a return to Xbox in interviews and in comments to staff internally. What that will actually look like remains to be seen, but it seems to be responding to this idea that Microsoft has been chasing imaginary audiences at the cost of what it already has. That's a good way of phrasing it. I think, again, like, people left Xbox because it seemed like there was nothing to get committed to, and it seemed like Xbox was even not that interested in their own platform, you know? And why would you invest in a platform, toaster or not, when it feels like Microsoft could shutter it at any point? You know, just doesn't make sense.
At the Nerdy Giant 3621 donated $19.99 through Super Chat. IDK if you watched the Xbox Partner Showcase yesterday, but probably one of the biggest games got shown off. Bluey happy snaps. Move over GTA.
Move over GTA. But seriously though, it's sad just how much money the Bluey property makes. Yeah, it's because Bluey's awesome, dude. Bluey is amazing. Bluey happy snaps. Yeah, it's like a photo-powered game. Look for familiar spots from the show. Create your own scrapbook and turn in-game memories into moments for life. Coming this year. They already have one Bluey game. It's pretty rough, but that's cool to see. That's cool to see. I just Googled it. That's funny. Yeah, Bluey's baller. Yeah, no Bluey disrespect here. How dare you? It's really good. It's really good. Let's see. Hold on. Let me finish this out. Otherwise, I'll get distracted again. Since coming on board, CEO Asha Sharma has re-energized Xbox's. By the way, just to be clear, thank you for the 20. That's super generous. Thank you. I just want to be clear about that. I realized I just kind of blasted past that. Truly, thank you. Very generous. Very generous. Since coming on board, CEO Asha Sharma has re-energized Xbox's internal teams, who told me that Sharma is reducing red tape and approval processes in favor of shipping updates and reacting to feedback more quickly. Indeed, Microsoft has started shipping new fun features to the Xbox Series X and S again after a pretty hefty moratorium. Many game journalists and commentators have focused on Asha Sharma's tenure as an AI exec within Microsoft, but I'm told it's really her expertise in growing massive online audiences that led to her appointment. Instacart and Facebook Messenger are key examples of her experience here. PC gaming is winning, at least in part due to its multitasking capabilities. Given the rise of multi-monitors and multitasking as a key feature gamers are increasingly expecting from their gaming sessions these days. Having world-class social adjacency tools in Xbox is probably going to form a part of her mission, if I had to speculate. How to promote these types of features to the wider audience will be a more complex endeavor. Does he mean like you boot up your Xbox and then you can like cast a YouTube video to be picture-in-picture on the game? I've done that. Not on console, but I could see that. Like, for example, do I have the extension? No, I don't. Oh, not on this Windows profile. I've done that where, like, I'll be playing a game and, like, you know, I'll have it full screen, but then I'll have a picture-in-picture video here if it's, like, Civ 5 or Civ 6 or something where, like, I don't need snappy reaction times. Like if I can have a kind of second screen, I'll do that where I do picture in picture. Maybe they're talking about that where like you can project videos onto your game. So like it's more of a unified experience for multitasking. That could be interesting. I'm not sure if that's what he's talking about, but that could be interesting. The next gen Xbox Helix was revealed by Asha Sharma a few weeks ago, and it's going to be more PC-like than ever, complete with access to platforms like Steam, Epic Game Store, and more. Breaking down expectations of what an Xbox is and promoting the benefits of Helix will be a complex marketing effort that requires user education as much as it will need to emphasize the fun and usability factor. But price challenges remain a hefty consideration for Microsoft here, regardless of the marketing quality. It'll be interesting to watch how Asha Sharma repositions Xbox here given her social media savviness. I do think that's going to be interesting. I don't know what her approach is going to be, but overall I think that's a very good article from Jez. I think this one Papiktu also points out something interesting. For me, the big problem was that it coincided, the whole Xbox identity crisis coincided with the phasing out of the Xbox Series and the dramatic loss of exclusives. If they had taken better care of their console players, I don't think this marketing campaign would have gone down badly. I think it would have gone down badly regardless, because I think this campaign itself is literally like a rejection of the whole concept of like the Xbox as a platform. And so to me, it seems like that's it would have been received poorly regardless, but that's just my personal feeling. As for how she's going to handle it, I do think that she's going to try to do something major. I think she's going to try to shake it up more than maybe people are expecting. Because again, what we know is that it was not working. And what seems to be the case is that Satya brought her in to try and change things. There was some questions, or there were questions at the outset. Maybe she's being brought in to like sunset the whole console, and like she's being brought in to basically just kill it. That does not seem to be the case now. It seems much more clear that she is here to actually try and turn the ship around. And that's why they brought her in, to be like a totally fresh set of eyes. So it's going to be really, really interesting. Really interesting to see how she does it. But I'm getting more and more intrigued by it. I'm like, she might actually be able to do something crazy. Is it enough to compete with PlayStation? I don't know. But honestly, anything different at this point is better, because what they were doing was so catastrophically not working that I feel like doing literally nothing would still be an improvement. So here we go. He took my thing.